Hey guys, my name is Alacia and welcome to my channel, The Sea Life 6. If you're new here, please remember to hit that subscribe and notification button so you can get notified every time a new video comes out. Okay, so this is like a long-awaited video for a bunch of people who have asked me, and I'm so sorry it took me so long to get to this video, about how I kind of do both Time for Learning and Masterbooks together, how I mesh them together, and how I do my lesson plans with my kids together. Before we get started, if you can see, I have got a little bit of wet hair going on. Did a little bit of self-care earlier. You know us mamas, we need that. Did a little self-care. I was was rushing around. We're in the midst of moving. I was getting supplies and stuff, and I came home, gave my kids, you know, their lunch, and I went upstairs, put two kids down for a nap, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go downstairs, I'm just gonna hop to it, I'm gonna film this video. And I started to walk downstairs, and I was like, you know what? Let me take a second, I'm gonna go get a shower. Let me deep condition my hair like I've been telling myself for like 5 days I'm going to do, because I had my hair lightened. I went from black hair to more blonde ombre style hair, and or what do they call it, balayage, whatever you want to call it. And I'm trying to like keep my hair hydrated, and I just haven't done that. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna hop in the shower and I'm gonna do this. I hopped in the shower, did a little deep conditioning, got out of the shower, put a little extra treatment in my hair, and I was gonna blow dry it and straighten it, and I was like, you know what, this is real life. This is me multitasking, and it is what it is. So my hair is wet, it's up in a bun, it's getting some extra hydration that it needs so it doesn't break off on me, and I'm going to explain to you guys now how exactly I mesh both together. So stick with me after my little like detour, and you'll see how the two can totally coincide with one another. All right, let's get to it. Why did I choose to do both Time for Learning and Masterbooks? So when I started homeschooling my oldest son, for many of you who've been on my channel and been kind of following my journey, I started with just my oldest son homeschooling, who is autistic, because unfortunately, even with IEPs and a lot of special education stuff, school was just not a good fit for him. It was just way too much sensory overload. He got overwhelmed from having the amount of students in classroom, and it just was not a good fit. So I wound up quitting my job and coming and become a stay-at-home mom again. I was for a while. I got a job, and then that just didn't work out. And I became a full-time homeschooling mama. All right, there we go. I got it out. And I can link that video up top if you're having a special needs child and you're on the ropes about whether or not you want to homeschool. Go ahead and just click on that video above about why we decided to pull our son out. So I pulled my son out of school after a very bad situation kind of happened at school, and my husband and I were done and over with just the administration not following the guidelines that I needed to follow. And I came home that day, and I was like, okay, it was February 14th, Valentine's Day, when we pulled him out of school in 2019. I came home and I was like, all right, no idea what I'm gonna do. I guess I just need to like figure this out and jump on it. So I had done a little bit of research going back and forth. I've been thinking about it for a couple of years, homeschooling, and I just never kind of jumped off the deep end with it. And once we pulled him out that day when we went, when he was having a really bad day, I was kind of like, I need to figure something out. So I started looking at a bunch of things, and one thing that kept popping up over and over again for being really good with children with special needs was Time for Learning. Now, Time for Learning is a 100% online education platform. I have 2 videos that I can link if you want to see what the student portal looks like and the parent portal for Time for Learning, and you can watch both those videos and have an in-depth look at what the portals look like and how to navigate it. So I signed my son up. Now, what is really great about Time for Learning is you don't have to really have a lot of like finances put aside. A lot of things with homeschooling can become extremely expensive if you let it get that way. Time for Learning was great because it literally did everything I needed everything I needed to do as like the parent homeschooling. It kept all the records that I needed, meaning attendance, his quiz grades, his test grades, if he needed to retake something. It let me set parameters on what like the lowest score was, and until my son needed to retake something if I didn't feel like he understood it. It's completely customizable, and that's what I really liked. But the best part was that a lot of people on the Facebook groups who had children with special needs said it was just a very easy thing for them to navigate without becoming overwhelming. And that was the number one thing that I was concerned about, was my son becomes so overwhelmed so easily with reading because of a speech delay that he had, that's what he shuts down on, and that's one of his triggers with his autism. So I needed something that wasn't going to do that. So we got started with it, and it was phenomenal. It really is more like of a game almost to young children, with the way that it does things and how it interacts and everything. So it was really great because I was able to put him on a computer, get him little headphones. I got him in his own little computer for like $150. I got him a Chrome notebook at Walmart, and off he went. Now, with Time4Learning, they do have the ability to have worksheets. And I was printing off some of their worksheets, but I just really found that he wasn't very engaged with the worksheets that I was printing off from Time4Learning. He just really wasn't engaged with the worksheets. And I was noticing that, like, while he was doing great on the computer, when I was trying to get him to do just random like workbooks that I was finding at like Walmart or Costco or something like that, he was really starting to lack on his handwriting skills. So I started thinking to myself, okay, after we completed the first grade level of Time4Learning, I said, you know what, I really need to look into a curriculum that has more of a workbook style that I can get him to do writing with. And that's when I found Masterbooks, which is also a great program. And it's a Christian-based program, which my family is a Christian family, so that really, like, it went with our values and our faith, and I just really loved it because it's also super, super affordable compared to so many other curriculums that are out there. So I got a couple of things from Masterbooks and kind of started doing, my favorite thing about it was the one, you know, worksheet a day, basically. When my son was doing second grade work, he was doing he was doing the third grade work when we started, and it was one worksheet a day that he had to do. So it, again, that overwhelming aspect wasn't happening for him. So I really, really like that about Masterbooks. And then what I decided to do is split up the time on the in our schedule, so he still had computer skills, because that's something the children today need. You know, we spend pretty much our whole lives based around something with internet and Wi-Fi, and that's how a lot of businesses work. So kids today really need to understand how to use a computer, how to navigate through things with computers, using a computer mouse, all that stuff. So I wanted him to keep that aspect of it, but like I said, I also wanted that workbook, and I really liked how it incorporated our faith into the workbook style. So what I decided to do is go through Time4Learning, because like I said, it's completely customizable, and I found the lessons that matched what I was doing in our Masterbook lesson. So I was looking for the math that matched the math lesson that my son was on. So he's doing his worksheet, and then he's turning around and going on the computer, and I'm putting him on the same exact thing, basically. So if he's working on long addition, I went on to the computer and I found the long additions, because of how you can go in the parent portal and completely look at every single section of the math that child's doing. And I was able to find the same thing that he was doing on the computer. So that's how I was merging the two of them. I'm gonna flip the camera around in just a second and show you on the website how I went through and how I found that. But that's pretty much what I was doing. Now, that's when I just had my one child. Then when this whole pandemic started, and my husband and I really were like, you know what? We just love homeschooling so much. It's a better fit for our family. And we decided to pull them out, not because of anything that was wrong with the public school. I actually loved my child, Colton. His pre-K teacher was phenomenal. She helped me with him so much this year, it wasn't even funny. And my son's kindergarten teacher was also really sweet and really just able to accommodate me with anything that I needed with him, because my other child also has a learning disability. He has dyslexia, like I have dyslexia, so we had to do an IEP and everything for him. But we just really found out that homeschooling was where we wanted our family to be. So then I had to sit down and go, okay, how am I now going to not only homeschool a child that has a actual disability, like a full disability, autism, along with a child that has a learning disability on top of my preschooler, and then my youngest, he'll be starting preschool this year as well. I'm like, okay, I really need to come up with a system how I do this. So what I wind up doing is I have stations for my kids. So my children currently work better in the afternoons than they do in the morning. They have a lot of energy in the morning. So in the mornings, that's when we run errands, go to the park, and just get that energy out. I will then take my 2 youngest children, put them down for naps, and my older 2 children start after lunchtime with their schoolwork. And what I do is I normally will set up Weston first on the computer. With him being older, he really knows, and he's been doing Time for Learning longer, he really is able to navigate his little student portal quite well. I'll take Jace aside and I will do Jace's bookwork. Then when Jace is done and I know Weston has completed his assignments on the computer, I will then switch them. I will have Jace go on the computer and I will have Weston come to the side. It's normally about 30 minutes per subject. So for 30 minutes, he'll do math on the computer and I'll do 30 minutes with math with Jace in front of me, and then we'll go ahead and switch. Then when my son Colton wakes up, because he normally only naps for about an hour, hour and a half, at that point, Colton will come down and I will go ahead and put both my older kids on computer. They'll take about a 10-minute, 15-minute break. They'll get a snack. Afterwards, we'll come back. I'll have my older 2 then go back on the computer and either do like history or some other, like a science or something, and they'll both be on the computers. And then I'll do my preschoolers' work then at that time. Then once my 4th child, my little one, gets up, I will then go ahead and rotate again. And depending on what kid still needs something done, my younger one, his core things that my younger student, that's a full-time student, Jace, kindergartner, he is only doing math and language arts right now. We aren't doing it, I didn't incorporate science or anything like that, just math and language arts. So then what I'll do is he'll be done with his math and language arts, so he's allowed to go and then have free time. Weston will normally take a 20-minute break, and I will take that 20 minutes, pull my little one aside, and do some things for him. Just because my little one, again, he is very, very young. He's only 3 right now, so I'm not going to sit down and, personally, I do not drill my kids. I found that they work way better in small increments of time with breaks and not long increments of time with going over repetitive drilling. So at that point, I'll do 20 to 30 minutes max with my younger kid. Weston should be done with his snack. I'll go over with him. We'll probably do a history or something. I'll have the other 3 go off and play. Weston, he and I will sit down. We'll do a history. We'll do science. I rotate the days that we do that. And then once he's done with those, Weston's now completed his day. He's allowed to go and do whatever he wants. I'll then bring my younger 3 up in a group and for like a science or something, and I'll go ahead and do something all together with them. Like I'll do like kinetic sand or some kind of baking or something where I can have all 3 of them incorporated, just because they're all pretty much so close together in age, like they're less than 18 months apart in age. So it's really easy for me just to kind of gather, I call them my littles, my 3 musketeers, and do a science or a history or something like that. And then once all of that's said and done, normally before my husband gets home and dinner and everything starts to happen, we all gather around and we sit down, and I'll do something from our, what's called normally a morning basket, but it's pretty much our afternoon basket. I'll pick out a book and we'll read a little bit, either about something biblical or about something science-y or about dinosaurs, and we'll read that as a group. And in all honesty, normally from 12 to 4, that's our school time. And it's like, that's 4 hours of school, but it's broken up in increments and there's breaks in between. And that's all my kids need. And I can really tell you that they have flourished with that. I just don't see the need for my children to make them do school from 9 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. It just, my kids are able to absorb more short periods and to just space it out and to have it become an all-day affair. So, like I said, having the kids rotate computers, I wound up buying more than 1 computer, having computer stations set up. I have a desk here, it's in an L shape, so I'll have 2 computers set up. That way they can rotate with what I'm doing. Not only gives me the more ability to focus on 1 child at a time, but it allows them to do a little bit more independent things. Now, there have been times where I have to pause what I'm doing with the kid that I'm sitting in front of if a child is having a problem at the computer, they're not understanding something. So On days like that, it can tend to be a little bit longer. We might not get done till more like 5 o'clock, but I really don't have too many days that are like that. So let's get to the computer and I will show you exactly how I go through and look and find the things on Time for Learning to mesh what I'm doing together. Okay, so here is the main page of my oldest Time for Learning page. So what I do, you see it's split up to language arts, math, science, social studies, and if you had any electives, the electives would show up right here. So when I'm looking to match up my child's lesson plans, let's say for math, okay, we'll go into math. And so I'm in math right now. You can go over to the side right here and you can see the chapter names. So in Masterbooks, if we're on a chapter or on a page that has talking about money, I'll just click on the money chapter. And then I'll try to look at the titles to best see what fits with what my kids are learning. So if we're talking about coins for that day, I'll have him do the identifying coins activity here. If they're talking about values that day, I'll have him do the identifying value for that day. Let's say we're doing fractions. I'll go ahead and the same thing. I'll click on the lesson to best see what matches with what I'm doing in the Masterbooks. You can also see this in 2 views. It can be like little postage stamps, or it can be a list view. I personally like the list view. My Weston likes looking at it this way. I will click on it like this, that way I can see the full title. So if we want to do instruction practice fractions equal to 1 whole value. Okay, great. That's what I'm doing in Masterbooks. This is what I'm going to have him do. So it's really, really simple to match up. Okay, so I'll click on here to either go to my plan or my courses. Courses will just make it come up to this menu. And let's say, let me click off of this. We're doing language arts. It's going to be the exact same thing. You're going to come over here. You're going to, I don't know why, for some reason my computer is being funky and it keeps pulling up 2nd grade for him. So here we can see lesson, again, the chapter of the language arts lesson, and then if you're viewing it this way, you'll kind of have the title cut off. So if you come over here, click that little button, now you have the full title of what you're learning. So instruction practice phonics, instruction practice word learning prefix. This is just the easy way to go ahead and look and try to match up what your kid is doing in Masterbooks to what's going on Time for Learning.